My name's Debbie Hartung, and I've been a member of St. Mark's for 14 years. My story starts when I was 10 years old. We moved to Jackson, Mississippi from a small town and started looking for a church. In a small town, church is always a big part of your life, but when we moved here, we just couldn't find a place that we felt comfortable. We visited and visited for several weeks until we finally all just gave up and decided we just didn't care anymore. So we quit going. Over the next 20 years, I got away from church and religion in general, and it just wasn't a part of my life at all anymore. I even got to where I didn't really even think about it. It just was not a part of my life. When my daughter turned 2, my husband suggested that we take her to church. I was kind of surprised by this, but I wanted her to have the experience that I did growing up, so we began looking for churches. We visited several different ones in the area because my husband and I grew up different denominations. So we were trying to find a place that both of us could feel comfortable and that we would be comfortable raising Sylvia. And we came to St. Mark's, and it was a good fit for us. I had a friend in my neighborhood that invited me to bring Sylvia to Vacation Bible School, and I thought, what a great idea. I loved Vacation Bible School as a child, so I agreed to send her, not knowing that if I sent her at 2, I had to volunteer. So once I got that news and dealt with it, I decided that would be a great idea, and we came and had a wonderful week and met some people and liked the church. So we went home and I discussed it with Richard, and we decided to try to make St. Mark's our church home. A couple of weeks after we started coming to St. Mark's, I found out that I was pregnant at 40. Then I found out about 2 weeks later that my child would have Down syndrome. And it was quite a surprise to me at that time to realize that I was actually at a church whose preacher had a child with Down syndrome, which I didn't even know when we got here. And so it was really a good fit for us as far as finding someone who could relate to what I was going through and somebody to help us through the difficult times of having a child with special needs. We joined the church, and both of my girls were christened on Bird Hillman's last day at St. Mark's. I was a little lost after that and worried about what was going to happen next, and Jim Curtis came into our lives and was a wonderful, wonderful mentor for me. He answered my questions that I'd had over the last 20 years and had some really informative Bible studies. We went through Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Peter, and the Great Revelation debate. He even had a class called Questions You Always Wanted to Ask About the Bible. And he really helped me come to terms with what I had been missing over the last 20 years. I still had times when I didn't feel like I was a part of the church exactly. I was learning about God, but I still wasn't comfortable here, I guess. I talked to my husband about it, and he said that it wasn't about how I felt necessarily. It was more what I was giving than what I was getting, and that if I wasn't getting enough, then I wasn't giving enough. And so I found that the more I volunteered and the more I became a part of the church, the more I felt fulfilled and the more I felt like I was getting what I came for. I did eventually find the Pairs and Spares Sunday School class, which has truly been my anchor at St. Mark's. It's a place where I feel like I belong. I feel like I can talk about whatever I need to talk about. We don't come in and pretend that life is great and everything is wonderful all the time. We can be honest with each other and deal with the real things that are in our lives that we need to deal with. This past summer, I had the opportunity to direct Vacation Bible School. I thought that was really an amazing thing, that I went from 14 years ago being not necessarily a non-believer, but a non-practicing believer, to a joyous Christian woman who can share her experience here and have really grown to love Christ and grown to love her church.